continuing with another video, a continuation of the previous video that I did yesterday. Yesterday it was about hardware and software, and we talked about hardware being categorized into 4 groups. We have got input hardware, we have got processing hardware, we have got storage hardware, and we have got output hardware. So under the input hardware, I'm about to talk about input devices and their uses. So identify the input devices and their uses, such as the keyboard. This is an input device, numeric keypad, pointing devices such as mouse, touchpad, trackable, remote control, joystick or driving wheel, touch screen, scanners, digital cameras, microphones, sensors, temperature sensors, pressure sensors, light sensors, graphic tablets, video camera, and webcam. All these that I've listed here, they fall under input device. So an input device is any hardware device that allows a user to enter data or instruction into a computer directly. An input device can send data to another device, but it cannot receive data from another device. Input devices are necessary for a computer to receive commands it uses and data to process. They are under the user's control and can be direct data entry. Input devices can be complicated because they must ensure the user can interact with the computer correctly. So in my next slide, we have got a breakdown of input devices allow data to be input into a computer. So we are talking about, in this video, we are just talking about this particular area, the input device. Because when you give computer instructions, you have to use an input device. The instructions will travel to a place called the central processing unit. When it goes to the central processing unit, it has a memory that will hold the data that has been sent. So the central processing unit will do an arithmetic logic unit if that is required, and then after it has processed it, it will store it. After being stored, it will be sent to the output device. So the output device will be either a printer, a screen, speaker, or a projector. And the input devices that are listed here is the keyboard, mouse, joystick, and a microphone. There are so many others that have not been listed, but they fall under input device. So in my next screen, because we are just dwelling today on the input devices only, I'll come to this now. We have got a device called the keyboard, which is commonly used by everyone. Its use is for inputting data into application, typing commands in a CLI interface. This CLI interface, there are 2 types of interface. We have got the graphic user interface and the CLI interface. So let me just come here. Here, when I come here, let me remove the full screen. So if I remove this full screen, we have got the CLI, command line interface, and we have got the graphic user interface. The graphic user interface is what I'm talking about, these icons on the desktop. And the most common icons is the control panel. If you open this, a window opens. That window, you can restore it to a reasonable size. So you can see this one gives you the details of the graphic user interface. You can manipulate anything. If you want to change date and time, you just come there, and then you can be able to check what is there. So it is user friendly. So that's why it's called graphical user interface. For the command line interface, you have to come here and then type CMD. And then when you reach the CMD, you run it as an administrator. When you run it as an administrator, it takes you to this interface. So this interface is what is called the command line interface, whereby users are required to use the keyboard to type commands. For example, CLS to clear the screen, CD ... to go back 1 step, CD ... to go back to the root. Now I'm on the root, CLS again to clear. If I want to check the date, I'll type date. The spelling must be correct, date. if the spelling, so it's telling me today is 19th January, they start with the date and then the month and then the year. If the spelling was wrong, let's say I typed date like that, it will give me is not recognized. So the user must know how to use the keyboard correctly to get the results. Garbage in, garbage out. The spelling was wrong, I got the whatever. If I want to check the time, I have to type correctly. It shows me the time. If I want to list the files and the folders which are in the computer, I'll type dir. If I want them to be wide, I'll add a parameter like W. Then the parameter will show me in a landscape format. This part was portrait. Now this is landscape. Yeah. So that is how. If I want to go back to the graphical user interface, I'll type the command exit and I'm back. And then I can be able to launch my PowerPoint projector and I project it to full screen. So keyboard is for inputting data into application. Typing commands like CLS, dir/w, time, date into the command line interface. So the advantages of using a keyboard is that fast entry to new text into a document, and then it is easy and familiar to use. Yeah, and then what else? Easier to do verification checks as data is entered and can immediately be compared with the source document with typed data on the screen. So it is easier. But the disadvantage, it's a slower method compared to direct data entry. What I mean by direct data entry is like you have an ATM card. Yeah, so it will be scanned automatically by machine. Yeah, so it is a slower method. Some people are very slow when it comes to typing. And then we have got this part called the numeric keypad. The numeric keypad is mostly used in the automatic teller machines, ATM, where customers can key in their PIN and then also they key in the amount of money they want. Mobile phones allow phone numbers, etc., to be keyed in. And then also at the point of sale terminals in the supermarket, in case the barcode reader fails to read the barcode, the numbers to be keyed manually by the operator. And then we have got other devices like the chip and pin devices when paying by credit or debit cards. So it is fast entry of numeric data into a spreadsheet. If you're using Excel, also you'll need to be able to enter. So advantages: straightforward to enter numeric data like pins or prices at the point of sale. Disadvantages: keys can be too small, especially for old people. Difficult to type letters on older mobile phones to text. So those are the disadvantages. And for those people who are disabled, you find that they have problems with their fingers, it can also be an issue. And then if I go on to other input devices, we have got the mouse. So we have a mouse here. So the mouse is used to control, like I'm controlling my pointer on the screen. So it's used for selecting windows, clicking on the icons, menu options, positioning pointers. So it is easier to, once you get used to it, it's easy to navigate through the menu option. Quicker to select an option compared to using a keyboard. Disadvantage: easily damaged. And then you have to use it on a flat surface. So a flat surface is required. If you use it on your lap, sometimes it's a problem. And when they say easily damaged, some of them that are like wireless, if they fall down, they break easily. So you have to replace it. So a mouse can be difficult for people with restricted hand and wrist movement, yeah, than using a keyboard for data entry. And then I've said it is difficult to use if no flat surface is readily available. So those are the disadvantages. And then we have what is called the touchpad. Touchpad is found on the laptop. Yeah. So a touchpad is used as a pointing device on a laptop to replace the mouse. Yeah. So uses of a touchpad: opening, closing, minimizing software, grouping, moving, deleting files, image editing, for example, control the size and position of a drawing pasted into a document, controlling the position of a point on the screen to allow selection. So those are the uses. So advantage, it's part of the keyboard, so no need to separate the device. When you buy a laptop, you don't need to buy a mouse, so it reduces the cost. The disadvantage of a touchpad. People with limited hand or wrist movement find the device difficult to use. It can be more difficult to control the pointer when compared to a normal mouse. Drag and drop operations are more complicated using a touchpad. So I've said here more difficult to use compared to a normal mouse. And then we have got what is called the tracker. Where is that? Where have I gone? Yeah, trackable. Used by users who tend to have limited mobility to their wrist. Easier to use compared to a mouse, more accurate in positioning the pointer. Disadvantage tend to be more expensive, not familiar to users. Yeah, trackable is not very common. But you can see now there's what you can roll here. So it is good for those people who have got wrist problems. Yeah. The next one, we have got the remote control, which is used on television. This is very common. Everybody knows a remote control. So remote control is for uses for television, satellite, DVI, Blu-rays, players, hi-fis, home theaters. They use what? They use the remote control. So used to control TV channels and menu options, multimedia system and industrial applications. Advantages can be used from a distance. And disadvantages, signal could be blocked by obstacle or walls. The farther you go from the source, the weaker it becomes. And then you have got joystick, used in computer games and simulators. So joystick, the computer gamers who are using very strong application use joystick. Easier to use compared to a keyboard, but more difficult to use compared to a normal mouse. And then still on gamers, we have got what is called driving wheel. All these are input device connected to the computer, used by gamers in computer games, racing and driving, used in simulators. So advantages, driving experience is more accurate than using keyboard. Disadvantages, more expensive. Movement could be too sensitive. If I go to the next part, so driving wheel, then the next one is the touchscreen. The touchscreen is an input device, also an output device. So a touchscreen is a very unique gadget. It is used in automatic teller machines, ATM, to choose from on-screen options. Point of sale terminals, such as restaurants, they use touchscreen. Interactive whiteboards in schools. Computer-based training, CPT, where answers are selected during on-screen testing. So the advantages of touchscreen, faster entry option than using a keyboard or a mouse. Very easy method of choosing options. User-friendly method, no training necessary in its use. Option to expand the size of the display if necessary. You can zoom in and zoom in. Disadvantages of a screen, limited number of input options are available. This can lead to problems if an operator uses the system frequently. Straining of arm muscles, repeated strain injury, all are possible. The screen can get very dirty with constant touching. So those are some of the disadvantages of touchscreen. And then scanners, used to scan in documents or photograph. So if you have a long document, instead of typing it, you just scan it, and then there's a software that will be able to edit. And if you have photographs that you have taken on a field trip, you can scan them and they'll be in your computer. So copies can be advantages. Copies can be created easily. Disadvantage, quality dependent on the resolution settings. And then you have got digital camera. Digital camera now, these are for taking photos, used to take photographs and small video clips. Data can be transferred to the computer via the universal serial bus USB. So advantages, higher resolution images can be stored on the memory cards. Yeah. No need to develop film like the old cameras where the film had to be taken to the studio. Disadvantages, transferring, storing and editing images can be complicated because you have to learn how to use those application software for editing. That is the disadvantage. So if you don't know, you'll have to pay an expert to do for you editing of your videos and those kind of things. video cameras. A video camera is more advanced than a digital camera. So used to record video footage. Advantages: can record in high definition. Footage can be edited on a computer. Disadvantage: HD movies take up a lot of storage. So your laptop or desktop must have terabytes to be able to work with recorded videos. And then another disadvantage: the cost of buying this video camera is on another level. They don't come cheap, they're very expensive, but it is an input device. And then you have got the microphone. Like now I'm talking through the microphone on my machine, and on your end you can listen to the sound. So a microphone, yeah, microphone is it's used to input sound into a computer, used in voice recognition application, yeah. And then voice overs can be added to presentation. Recorded audio can be typed directly into word process application. So that is the advantages. Disadvantage: voice recognition is not as accurate as typing text into the computer. Graphic tablets. Graphic tablets used with a stylus to draw freehand drawings, which can be stored on a computer. So these ones, during the COVID period, people are using graphic tablets to teach, especially mathematics teachers who have to illustrate. Very accurate method of drawing compared to pointing device. And then longer to produce drawing. And then the cost of the tablet also became very expensive. Yeah. Then the next one, we have got the webcam. Most laptops comes with web cameras. Desktop, you can buy an external web camera and you connect it. So used by users who want to have a web conference like Skype, Google Meet, or Zoom. Advantages: it allows for face-to-face video chat, can contact people without the need to travel. So you can convene a meeting with somebody in New York and you're in South Africa using the webcam. So the disadvantages: quality dependent on the internet connection. Sometimes the internet can start buffering if it's not very reliable. And then we have got light pens used in CAD. Yeah, these CAD are for architectures, application for drawing on screen. So this one you just draw on the screen directly. More accurate than touch screen, then small in size. Only used with the CRT monitors, cathode ray tube. These are old machines which were replaced by the LCD. It is an outdated technology, dated technology. So you have to look for a CRT, which I think is not anymore on the shelves of the shops. And then I'm coming to the end of the input devices, and that's the direct input devices. So discuss why different user interface require the use of different types of input devices. We have got graphic user interface and command line interface. Command line interface is well suited to use the keyboard. But when it comes to graphic user interface, which is Windows, it has varieties of direct input devices. So this is an exam question. Discuss why different user interface require the use of different types of input devices. With a graphic user interface, a mouse enables users to easily maneuver pointer around the screen to select icon representing application, menu options, and windows. The mouse can be used to drag windows and icons across the screen. People with disability may prefer to use trackable as a pointing device as they may have limited mobility on their wrist. In addition, a joystick or a gamepad could be used to mimic the behavior of a mouse when playing games. On the other hand, a keyboard will be required to enter command prompts into the command line interface. Touchscreen, on the other hand, touchscreens can be easily used to directly select options of the screen, normally found on a portable devices such as a smartphone, tablets, uh, laptops, or even at point of sale. So the things I've listed above were direct input devices. That marks the direct input devices. Another question. Compare and contrast the use of a mouse, touchpad, trackable as a pointing device. So the keywords to use here: familiar, flat surface. Flat surface will go to the mouse is familiar to everyone. Touchpad. Mouse also will need a flat surface. Mouse can damage easily. Touchpad, this issue of difficult, easier to use. Fixed device, limited utility, expensive. These are the words you can use when answering this question. Compare and contrast the use of mouse, touchpad, trackable as a pointing device. So this is how you answer it. The mouse is normally used with a desktop computer and is most familiar pointing device used. However, mouse requires a flat surface to be used and is more likely to be damaged. The touchpad is a fixed device found on the laptop, commonly found on the laptops. It is more difficult to use compared to a mouse. The trackable pointing device is used by users who have limited motility in their wrist. User would move the ball at the top of the device using their fingers to control the position on the screen. Trackable, however, tends to be more expensive than other pointing devices. So if you use this kind of language, you will have answered this question appropriately. We have continued with the input devices and their uses. So we have got sensors. So a sensor is a device that converts a real-world property into data that computer can process. So, for example, we have got sensors for temperature. So used in greenhouses to measure the temperature. We have got light. Light umpires check light conditions in cricket match. We have got moisture to check the moisture in the soil in a greenhouse. Then we have got water level, used in washing machine to measure the water level. And then we have got proximity, used when parking cars to judge the distance. Even mobile phones have got proximity. When you put it next to the ear, the light goes off. When you pull it out, the light comes back. And then we have movement, detects movement, which can trigger an alarm. This is good for security. And then you have got pressure, used in burglar alarms also. So all these are devices that can be used as input devices. And then real-world measurements are collected as an analog signals from the sensors. So the sensors, they collect analog. And then computer only understands digital signals. For after you have input the analog, you'll need a device called the ADC. The ADC will convert analog to digital. So an ADC, analog to digital, is needed to convert the signal so the computer understands the signal. So that marks the end of input device. So the next one will be now direct. Those are input devices where the user is currently connected to the input devices by touching them. So direct input devices, if I open this one here just to illustrate what I'll do in the next video, direct data entry and associated devices describes direct data entry and associated devices such as magnetic stripe readers, chip and pin readers, radio frequency identification RFID readers, magnetic ink character readers, optical mark readers, and optical character readers, and barcode. So what I mean by these ones, we are going to talk about direct data entry in the next video, whereby the user is not in contact, is not involved in touching the input device, but the device is in contact and then automatically it is read. So this one is more accurate because you can make a mistake if you're typing the pin in your card using the keyboard. So my next video will be direct data entry. Thank you for watching.